Hey everybody, welcome back to the Coderoom. Now in previous episodes, we talked about the basic building blocks of HTML, which are tags. And in previous episodes, we also talked about attributes of tags. And now that you understand attributes of tags, we're actually going to use them in practice with our next tag that we're going to learn about called the anchor tag. Now the anchor tag can be used for a couple things, but the biggest thing that it's used for is for links. Okay, now if you think about websites, they're full of links. Things, and not just links, you can click on things, you can click on images, you can click on stuff that also always leads to somewhere else, right? And that's what we're going to do here, okay? So the first example we're going to do is we're going to create a bunch of links to our favorite websites, okay? So here we are. So we've been working on this website here. We've had a couple of headers with a couple of paragraphs in there. Now let's add some links to external sites, okay? So in my body here, I have a couple H1s and a couple paragraphs. I'm just gonna make this text a little smaller. And now I'm gonna add a section for my favorite links, okay? So let's go here and let's add a new header like we did before, okay? And we'll close that tag and we will say, links, okay? And we'll hit save and we'll look here. We'll go back to the browser, refresh it. There we go, we have something for links there, okay. So now, let's put a bunch of links, okay? Now, I'm going to put these links inside a paragraph tag because there's certain things that come with a paragraph, and that's a little bit of spacing above and a little spacing below, so I'm going to do that, okay? So I'm going to create a paragraph tag, and instead of putting just plain old text in there, I'm actually going to start to put some links in there, okay? So I'm going to hit enter, okay, just to space it out a little bit. You can space it out however you want. Okay, and I'm going to put an anchor tag, okay? So I'm going to do A, and I'm going to close that tag, okay, just like that. And I'm going to put a couple of these, okay, for all my favorite websites, okay? Actually, let's just start with one. We'll start with one, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the first tag, and I'm going to link to, say, Google. Google is a good site to link to. It's a site that a lot of us use, so I'm going to call this just Google, and I'm going to save that. And let's see how that looks first before we go any further, okay? So save that, go to your browser, refresh the page, and there we go. We got a Google, okay? Now, as you can see, it's not actually a link. I can't actually click on it, right? I mean, I told you anchor tags are used for links, but then how come that's not a link? That's because we haven't added an attribute to that tag to make it behave like a link, okay? So let's do that right now. So let's go back to Sublime, and we're going to add our very first attribute, okay? Now remember what I said in previous episodes, we add attributes by adding them to the opening tag, okay? So this is the opening tag here. All right, so I'm going to add an attribute to that. So just hit space. And remember, attributes are always the name of the attribute equals the value, okay? So the name of the attribute we're going to add is called href, okay? href. Okay, so that's the name of it. We hit equals. And then we give it some value. And the value is always in between quotation marks, okay? So I'm going to do double quotation mark and then a double quotation mark again. Now again, Sublime is smart enough to auto-complete that quotation mark because it knows generally you need two quotation marks, an opening and a closing, okay? So opening and closing. And you'll see this is generally how programmers program. We always open things and close things and then fill in the middle, okay? So there's some stuff we're going to put in here. We don't know what it is. But we're going to start by opening the quotation mark and then closing the quotation mark, and then we're going to type in the middle, okay? And what you type in the middle is the value. So the value of the href is going to be where you want this link to go to, okay? And in this case, I want it to go to Google, okay? So you type http://, so this is the URL. Or in other words, what you would type in that address bar when you go to visit websites, www.google.com. or .ca, okay? Let's save that, go back to the browser, refresh it, and you'll see now it's actually a link. It's blue, it's underlined. When I hover on it, my cursor turns to a hand. And in fact, when I hover on it, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you see it even shows the URL that we're going to, www.google.com. And when I click on it, it actually goes to that website. Okay, you can go back, you can click on that link, and it goes to that website. Okay, so let's add a couple more websites. Okay, so let's add another one here. So we'll do A, and then close it. Okay, And I'm going to link to, one of my favorite websites, Engadget. Okay. And then I'm going to add the href in there. Okay, 2 quotations. And this goes to http://www.engadget.com. Save that, go back to here, refresh it, and you'll see there's my Google link. I can click on that and go back. And here's my Engadget link. Click that. Okay, and then go back. Okay, so I got my 2 links there. All right. Now, one thing you'll notice is that these links are side by side, and this is, again, the nature of this non-white space dependent language. It kind of collapses all those enters and spaces together. So if you want these things to be on new lines, okay, I'm going to teach you one trick to do that, and that's to use what's called the break element. Okay, the break element stands for line break, like when you hit enter. Okay, now line breaks should generally be used in the situation where you're breaking text up inside a paragraph, like you literally want a line break. Okay, you'll see later on there are other ways we can use to separate lines. Okay, so in this case, we are going to do a break element in between these two. So to create that line break, all we do is we do open BR. And the interesting thing about BR is that it's one of these very special tags that doesn't require a closing tag. There's only a couple of these, okay? In general, you should always think that there's opening and a closing, okay? There are these special tags that were called self-closing tags that once you open them, they also close themselves as well. And there's 2 styles to this. You can either just leave it like an open tag like this, or some coders like to be very explicit and say, no, this is a self-closing tag. So they actually put that / at the end, okay? Now this is very different than here, where we have the / at the beginning there. But putting the / at the end, this is indicating a self-closing tag. And I like to do it that way because it's very explicit. It's not like I've forgotten to close a tag. It's like, there's a /, this is a self-closing tag. All right, so save that, go back, refresh, and now they're on new lines, okay? Let's add a couple more links. Add a break, open the anchor tag, close the anchor tag. We're going to link to, say, YouTube. Okay, add an href to it. .com, and you're done. Okay, go back here, refresh, and there you go. All right, so that is the anchor tag, and you can see how the href property or attribute, okay, by putting an href attribute at all makes it a link, so it's clickable and it's underlined and it's blue, but it also tells the browser where to go when the user clicks on that. So what's interesting about this is you can actually name the link whatever you want and direct it to wherever you want, okay? So let's add another link here, okay? So let's add an anchor tag here, and we can call this, the greatest search engine ever. All right, and let's say that href would go to Google. Okay, so if I go back here, the greatest search engine ever, I click on that. When I click on that, it's going to look at the href. So it's going to go to google.com. All right, so there's nothing linking inherently the content and this href attribute. You can do whatever you want, and this is what programming is all about, okay? So if you want to click on the word Google and it goes to google.com, great. But for some strange reason, let's say you want to code it to say Google and it goes somewhere else, you can do that as well, all right? So that's the anchor tag. That's how you create links. We'll see you guys in the next episode.